my gratitude to our participants. Let me share that this group is composed of people from around the world. So from the past, the present, and the future. In other words, Keri is in New Zealand and it is already tomorrow there and 5:30 in the morning. So we're so grateful that you can be here. Vidya is at night in New Delhi, correct? New Delhi or Jaipur, and our third participant, Father Jean, is from Rwanda, and at the moment is in Iowa, and then Linda, of course, is Oregon, and I am in New York. My name is Janet Gerson. I'm the Education Director of the International Institute on Peace Education and the former director of the Peace Education Center at Teachers College, Columbia University. And so Evelyn came there as a fellowship, and that's how I first met her and became involved in this work and have been involved since the very first Dignilogue conference, you could say, Humiliation and conference. We have an illustrious panel, and I'm going to say just a teeny bit about each of you because you are the main people I'd like to hear from. And I'm going to say a little bit about what this panel is about. We all, I think, agree that dignity is a fundamental value, not just a concept or an area of study, but a real human value that grounds this, all of our work. And we've heard that during the pandemic, for example, it's a vast opportunity as things fall apart to possibly make things different. Now, Michael Britton yesterday mentioned vision, and he said that he's kind of past the idea of vision, but he's into the idea of realization. I want to say that in our Digna groups here, we have the chance for dialogue and face-to-face expressions and experience and exchange of dignity, which the exchange I see as respect. But to deal on the level of the pandemic, the exclusion and violence against people in our world, etc., we must go farther. So I think I would describe on the societal level, moral courage is what's required. And everyone, I want to cry because I'm so honored to be with you. Everyone on our panel exemplifies moral courage and at the same time exemplifies realization through interactions with people also who have moral courage and who need our support. So I don't want to say too much else because all of you could fill the whole program. And so let me just say quickly that our first speaker, who was here, but we lost him briefly, maybe he'll come back, but we have his film, is Father Jean D'amour, a Catholic priest from Rwanda. He is focused on peace building and reconciliation by peaceful means. He was just a child during the genocide in Rwanda, but it totally affected his work. He's a Catholic priest who wants to bring about healing and sanity through God's love. And you'll see his film and his book on Felicitas, a martyr who was a Hutu who was rescuing Tutsis, but who, even though she was given the chance to save herself, she chose to die with the other victims in the genocide.
Refusing to abandon the people she protected, Félicité chose to die alongside them. She gave meaning to the word sacrifice. Who was she? This great woman, Félicité Nyategeka, now recognized as a national heroine of Rwanda, was an auxiliary of the apostolate and worked at Gisenyi. At the time of the tragic genocide perpetrated against the Tutsis in Rwanda in 1994, she pushed her compassion to the sacrifice of her life. Herself a Hutu, she refused to be separated from the victims, the Tutsi, hunted and exterminated by Hutu extremists. She tried to save all those who came to take refuge at her home, Centre Saint-Pierre. And when she could not save her Tutsi brothers and sisters, she decided to accompany them to the end of their lives. In 1994, Félicité Niyitegeka was about 60 years old. She was an auxiliary of the apostolate at Gisenyi in the Byumba Diocese. During the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, she was the director of the Centre Saint-Pierre. She welcomed the Tutsi refugees to the center and helped many of them escape death by sending them to Zaire, known today as the Democratic Republic of the Congo. A survivor explains, "She opened a passage in the fence and we went through it. After 20 minutes, we were already in Zaire." When the perpetrators of the genocide, known as the Interahamwe, came to know of Félicité's actions in favor of the Tutsi, they decided to stop her mission and murder the Tutsi who remained in the Centre Saint-Pierre. Knowing the danger that might subsequently befall Félicité, her brother, a colonel in the National Army, sent her a vehicle and an escort of soldiers to evacuate her. But Félicité refused to leave those who were with her, so she sent him a short letter saying simply that she preferred to die with the Tutsi people who had found refuge in the Centre Saint-Pierre. During the following days, she continued to facilitate the move of the Tutsis, helping them to cross the border in order to flee to Zaire. Unfortunately, on April 21, 1994, the Interahamwe militia attacked the Centre Saint-Pierre, and they piled the Tutsi into a minibus to transport them to the place called Commune Rouge, where the mass graves were planned. Commune Rouge means the red place, or the place where blood was shed. Even in that terrible moment, Félicité continued to encourage those who were with her to stay firm in their faith. To those who were despicably sentenced to death, she said that it was the right moment to witness their faith in God. The Interahamwe wanted to save Félicité because she was Hutu, and furthermore she had a brother in the National Army. Along the way to the Commune Rouge, one of the militiamen told her, "Aren't you afraid of dying? You're going to regret this. You're going to be killed in the end." Nevertheless, until the end, Félicité encouraged, comforted, and accompanied the victims. Once at the Commune Rouge, the Interahamwe began to slaughter the Tutsi brutally. After killing 30, they tried to persuade Félicité to be reasonable. The militia were amazed by the words that Félicité courageously uttered. "I have no reason to live when you have killed my brothers and sisters." This is significant because the African philosophy of Ubuntu says, "I am because of you, we are because of each other." After these final words, Félicité was shot to death by Omar Serushago, the head of the Interahamwe militia in Gisenyi province. Among those who were killed that day were 6 other auxiliaries of the apostolate. Omar Serushago was found guilty of genocide and crimes against humanity. During the pre-sentencing hearing, he expressed his remorse at length and openly, asking for forgiveness from the victims of his crimes and the entire people of Rwanda. In addition to this act of contrition, he appealed for national reconciliation in the country. He was sentenced to 15 years imprisonment in Mali's Koulikoro prison in the outskirts of Bamako. He was released several months before he died in December 2013. Félicité's companions who survived the Rwandan genocide remember well her brother's attempt to save her. They say that at a time long before, Félicité received a message from her brother, Colonel Alphonse, who was in the military camp of Bigogwe. The message was to ask Félicité to leave Centre Saint-Pierre in order to join him, because Alphonse had just been informed that the center would be soon set on fire. This was Félicité's reply. Dear brother, thank you for your desire to save me, but instead of saving my life by abandoning the 43 people to die, I prefer to die with them. Pray for us that we may arrive in heaven, and say goodbye for me to our mother, brothers, and sisters. Once arrived in heaven, I will pray for you to God. Thank you again for thinking of me, and if God saves us as we hope, we'll see one another tomorrow. Your sister, Félicité. The vehicle and the soldiers appointed to evacuate Félicité returned to Bigogwe without her. This response demonstrates Félicité's unconditional love, which goes beyond love of family and those closest to us. While she begins her letter by celebrating the love her brother Alphonse has for her, Félicité then goes beyond or transcends this love and her love for kinship for a greater one, compassion towards God's children, the most forsaken under the circumstances. I prefer to die with them. Félicité was willing to die with those who were so unjustly condemned to death because she believed in her heart that death was the strongest testimony to her faith in God, in the people she loved, and in what she knew to be true. Despite the wishes of her brother, she believed what Dr. Martin Luther King once said, "A man who won't die for something is not fit to live." Félicité came to understand something many of us are afraid to face, that love is stronger than death. Once in heaven, I will pray for you to God. She loved so deeply and freely that death itself could not prevent her from loving, even into eternity. Obviously, it is thanks to her strong faith that Félicité chose to give her life to God for His people. Nobody took her life away, because she had the opportunity to save it. Having realized that she would fail to save her companions, she decided to accompany them up to the time of the end, sparing them not from death, but from despair. This is the refrain that is seen in all testimonies reported until now. She told the refugees, "I will accompany you because I don't want you to die in despair." Whenever she saw those innocents, she always comforted them by the words that express her unwavering faith. Don't you know our real destination? Through her words full of faith, hope, and charity, the people could find confidence in fearful circumstances. May she continue to pray to God for each of us, that we may someday find the strength and courage to love without fear and trust without doubting. This is a short passage from the testimony of Immaculée Tuyisenge. I'm telling you about Félicité because we lived together and she was my mentor. After the outbreak of war, just before the genocide, she urged us to make the prayer of Saint Francis of Assisi our own. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Félicité, through her life, was able to translate this beautiful prayer into the language of everyday life, the daily martyrdom. She often asked us this question: are not the discord and lack of unity in Rwandans truly regrettable? What I learned from her was her concern for unity, especially during the 2 weeks we spent together in those tragic times. She sought peace at any price. She reminded us of Christ's teaching on the necessity of unity, that all may be one. She asked us, if God asked you to sacrifice yourself for the unity of Rwandans, who among you is willing to do it? If you really are the auxiliaries of the apostleship, who feels ready to sacrifice herself for peace to reign in Rwanda? When she asked this kind of question, we looked at each other, but nobody raised a hand. She said, I am ready to die for peace. All the wealth in the world cannot be compared with the happiness of living together happily united. Saint Marguerite de Youville. Félicité not only gave herself in death, Her whole life was devoted to her neighbors. She gave upbringing advice to parents and encouraged children to study, even paying for their tuition fees. On the hill where she grew up, Félicité was always quoted as a role model. Tormented by the escalating conflicts between Rwandans, during her trainings, she asked people to teach peace, love, and non-discrimination. Her little sister tells us, Félicité had sown in us the seeds of love, so much so that we had no idea to which ethnic group we belonged. We were just aware of simply being children of God. Thus, her sister knew when the genocide broke out that Félicité was going to die. She couldn't bear seeing others die before her own eyes. Her sacrifice is engraved in the hearts of all those she helped and saved. The survivors of Nyundo thank her for her heroism and her strength of character. All wish for Félicité Niyitegeka to be declared a saint. In 2001, the government raised her to the rank of national heroine. To lay down your life for your neighbor, whatever his or her origin, is more than just an act of faith. It is an act of pure humanity.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Messages to the world. There are so many important messages that need to be heard by the world. And we're really happy because right now we have Father Jean D'amour. Evelyn, could you please introduce Father Jean? Because you're the one who made the contact with him, and we're so glad he could make it. He was in the Dignilogue this morning, but couldn't make it because school called him and it was a high priority. He's going to school in Iowa. But we're so glad you could be here, Father John. Evelyn, please introduce him.
Dear all, please join me in welcoming our dear Father Jean D'amour, John of Love in German, in English, John of Love. And we had the big pleasure to have our 2015 Dignity Conference in Rwanda. Our host was the former minister of the government, Emmanuel Ndahimana, and he was with us this morning. And Emmanuel Ndahimana, he has a very close friend, and this friend is Father Jean D'amour, this young priest whom you see here. And when I was in Rwanda in 2015, I saw Jean D'amour working in Rwanda. And he is an angel. I can tell you, he is a young man who is like an angel. I have no better word than to say that, a dignity angel. So I really ask everyone, please welcome Father Jean D'amour. He is now in Iowa since March. And he is having had his exams today, so he couldn't be with us earlier today. But now he wants to greet us.
Father John.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. I'm Father Jean D'amour, as Dr. Evelyn said, and I'm from Rwanda. And I'm pleased to be with you to participate to this meeting of dignity, human dignity. I'm very, very interested in human dignity as a priest and also as a human. I would like to contribute helping our platform to promote human dignity. And as Dr. Evelyn said, I'm not like an angel. I would like to be more human. I would like to be more human, and I will be more human when I recognize that the other one is also a human like I. And in terms I treat others or as human, like human, I will be affirming that I am human. Because if we become more human, the world will be more human and will dignify each human being.
Bravo. Bravo, Father
Thank you.
Jean. We're so glad you're with us. What a powerful message. And thank you for making that film of the story of courageous compassion and unity. That was an inspiration. And I hope everyone will see the whole film at some point. But thank you for carrying that message of Felicity and her courageous efforts in connection with others. So let's give Father Jean another round of applause as you wish, or hearts, for his great, great contribution. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for encouraging me. Dr. Evelyn encouraged me when we met in Rwanda, and Linda, you encouraged me to pursue my work about that woman. And I consider that woman as an example, a model for us to, to dignify each human being. And even those people whom our people say they are not worthy to be treated like humans, because Felicite did that. She overcame hatred. She overcame those preachings of be, you belong to this group. We are all humans, and we when we recognize that the other one is human.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Father Jean. You're just reminding us that our lives are our message to the world. Our lives are our message to the world. And dAmour, he is going to be our first message to the world. We record you and we'll shut off our cameras so you're in the spotlight, Father Jean. Are you ready? And Father, it's all yours. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. May I start now?
Yes, you can. You can start.
The message to the world I would like to deliver is the message of Ubuntu. Ubuntu is an African philosophy which says that I am because you are. Ubuntu is the essence of being a person. It means that we are people through other people. We cannot be fully human alone. We are made for interdependence. We are made for family. When you have Ubuntu, you embrace others. You are generous. You are compassionate. You recognize the human dignity of each person you meet. Ubuntu speaks particularly about the fact that you can't exist as a human being in isolation. It speaks about our interconnectedness. You can't be human all by yourself. And when you have this quality, Ubuntu, you are known for your generosity. We think of ourselves far too frequently as just individuals separated from one another, whereas you are connected and what you do affects the whole world. When you do well, it spreads out. It is for the whole humanity. A person with Ubuntu is open and available to others, affirming of others, does not feel threatened, that others are able and good. for he or she has a proper self-assurance that comes from knowing that he or she belongs in a greater world and is diminished when others are humiliated or diminished when others are tortured or oppressed. If the world had more Ubuntu, we would not have war, humiliations. We would not have this huge gap between the rich and the poor. You are rich so that you can make up when what is lacking for others. You are powerful so that you can help the weak, just as a mother or a father helps their children. Ubuntu means that we belong to the big family of humanity. It's what Pope Francis said in his encyclical letter, Fratelli Tutti, that all people all over the world are brothers and sisters. We are God's children, and we have to help each other, to dignify each other. And when you dignify your fellow human, you dignify yourself. And when you dehumanize another one, you dehumanize yourself. So it's that message that I would like to give to the world, the message of Ubuntu. A world with Ubuntu will dignify each human being. Thank you. I'm Father Jean D'amour from Rwanda.
Bravo. Thank you, Father Jean D'amour. Your lighting was wonderful, by the way. I just wanted to let you know, but your message was even more wonderful. So please give him a round of applause or heart. We will carry that with us in our hearts as we think about our own messages in the world and walk the talk of Ubuntu. Wonderful. Thank you so much, so much.
You know, in 2015, we had our Dignity Conference in Rwanda, and our host was a former minister in the government of Rwanda. His name is Emmanuel Ndahimana. And Emmanuel was with us yesterday, and he couldn't speak and the day before because his technology wouldn't allow it. And he sent us the following message, and he asked me to read it. He wrote, "The theme of the conference is very inspiring. Indeed, transforming humiliation into a pandemic of dignity for everyone should be a mission of all of us. As someone said, we are one, united by our essence, by our humanity, our Ubuntu." You know, the African philosophy of Ubuntu. I am because you are, but because we are. Then he continues, "We are also different by our forms, the circumstances of our developments, our experiences, our colors and talents. These differences make the creation even more artistic, beautiful in the planet garden. The perspective should lead us to more admiration and respect rather than humiliation and conflicts. Not easy. Félicité, you might remember the film we saw yesterday about Félicité in Rwanda. Félicité is among the few who have reached that level of maturity and understanding. She has left to all of us a living example that even big challenges can be overcome. Making this known is a good contribution to the world. We are grateful to Father Jean D'amour, and he will perhaps be with us later, who has offered this example. Grateful for the Human Dignity and Humiliation Studies Network for making Félicité an example of humanity, dignity, and compassion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Evelyn. And Emmanuel, we hope you're out there because, you know, we are thinking about you, and thank you for this powerful message to start our day, because we're on the road to putting ideas into action. And let's see, is Emmanuel there? It would be lovely to hear from Emmanuel.
Yes, he is there, but we cannot speak with him, only chat.
So we can just...
You are chatting with Emmanuel?
Yes.
Okay, I have his WhatsApp. I can.
Oh, there he is. I'm so happy to hear, but I have a problem with my connection. Well, Emmanuel, we're just sending you lots of love and support because you're the first person that, well, you're the person who introduced us to the concept of Ubuntu. And we've carried it with us in our hearts since then, since you. I remember when you were with us, and I'm so happy that you could be with us, even if the connection's not perfect. It's perfect to have you here. So thank you for being with us. And we're sending all of our love, as Evelyn says, to Kigali. And hopefully we can connect again. But Evelyn, could you say a little bit about Emmanuel that would fill everybody in about who he is and what an important person he was early on in our work?
Emmanuel?
Yes, Emmanuel.
Yes. I met him in 1999 when I did my doctoral research for my doctorate on humiliation and genocide in Rwanda, and he was a minister in the government at that time. And he he has a very special position in this entire conflict. He stands a little bit as above it, and he always said already in 1999, and then later when we started our annual conferences, he came to our conference in Berlin, and then he came to our conference in South Africa. And then he said, we have to have this dignity conference in Rwanda. And so finally we had it in 2015. And I really had to think of when Vidya was speaking also, because I told Emmanuel before I arrived that he has to find a family context for me. I will not stay in a hotel. I was there for 2 months. I would not stay in a hotel. And I arrived at the airport, and he admitted to me that until a week before, he didn't know where to bring me. And then he disclosed to me that he has a very dear friend, Father Jean D'amour, and that this Father Jean D'amour had suggested to him that there is a monastery with 5 nuns, Catholic nuns, and that this would be a good place for Evelyn. So I arrived at the airport of Kigali, and I had no idea where I would be brought to. And so Emmanuel came, and he brought me to a monastery with 5 nuns. And I stayed there for 2 months. And these were friends of Father Jean D'amour, Catholic nuns. And when Vidya was speaking, I was so much reminded of them, because to escape marriage, and marriage can be a prison. To escape the prison of marriage, in some places, the only way is to become a nun and to become celibatory. So I was staying with 5 feminists, basically, 5 nun feminists, and the most loving context you could ever imagine. I was so loved, and it was like a heaven for me to be with these 5 wonderful nuns in Kigali. And Jean D'amour, I write to them every year. I know they speak French. We were speaking French. They didn't yet switch to English. And so it was absolutely wonderful. And I write to them every year. And when you see them, dear Jean D'amour, give them all my love. And what they said, during the genocide, the Catholic Church had a very difficult position, because some priests and nuns participated in the genocide. And so the Catholic Church had a difficult position there. And so my 5 nuns, my sisters, they said to me, Evelyn, okay, independent of what you believe in, what religion you have, whatever, we know that your religion is love and our religion is love. This is what is first. Love is first. And this is why you are our sister.
Wow.
That was wonderful. That's your bonus story for those of you who stuck it out through our whole day. And at this point, I want to thank you, Evelyn, for stepping in throughout the day. I know you've been working in the background and then sharing this powerful story. And Emmanuel, we're so glad you're with us. And Jean, we're so glad you made it to join the group. And tomorrow we'll try to create time so you can use your message to the world.